High school football season is here, and Sports on Tap has you covered all season long with in-depth coverage and analysis. You won't want to miss our special football shows each Monday of the high school season from 7:30 to 9 p.m. Catch recaps of all the games, interviews with local players and coaches, and hear if your team is playing in the game of the week. For the best high school football coverage, turn to Sports on Tap. Every Monday from 7:30 to 9 p.m. Sports on Tap, part of the NEO Sports Insiders Network.
Welcome to Sports on Tap. It's our Ohio High School football coverage. Week 7 recap here today. And another fun Week 7. And it's starting to heat up a little bit with, as we move forward, closer to playoff time. We have Week 8 through 10 coming up, and it's been flying by, guys. But welcome back to Studio J in Brunswick, Ohio. I'm Rob Troutman. We have Sean Duffy, Josh Jeffy, Ed Dick here with us. And guys, what did you think about Week 7? A lot of fun games.
Yeah, Week 7 saw some interesting games. We were at a good one, our game of the week, Buckeye Black River. But definitely some good games in all of our conferences as we move closer to playoff seeding and playoff time.
I thought it was very interesting, Rob, as you say, the playoff races are heating up. The temperatures are cooling down. That's right. We are now.
Fall is here,
yes.
I think.
And it came in at the very tail end of this season. I'm liking it. I'm loving it, actually.
I think a lot of people are. I mean, you can't really go wrong in the fall season, but we're going to jump into the Greater Cleveland Conference where, Josh Jeffy, there was one game that I remember was getting a little crazy, and it was between the Bees and the Menor Cardinals, which you'll get to probably later in the Greater Cleveland Conference, but there were some other great games as well.
Yeah, we're going to start with our Saturday performance. As Shaker Heights defeated Brunswick 39-34, as Ed Dick is not happy about that one. Shaker Heights improves to 5-2 on the season, 3-1 in the conference. Brunswick drops to 1-6, 0-4 overall. Basically, once again, for Shaker, led by quarterback Jameer Demukes, 285 yards in this game, passing 3 touchdowns, including the go-ahead score to McCall Hills with 1:12 remaining in the game. Hills, to go along with his catch late in the game, that was on top of his 13 receptions for 170 yards and 3 touchdowns. Now, with 2 minutes, 13 seconds left in the game, Tim Dick kicked a field goal to put the Blue Devils up 34-33, but again, Jameer Demukes led the Red Raiders down to a touchdown to take the lead and the game, 39-34. Now, for Brunswick, the highlight, Jake Martin, 17 rushing attempts for 68 yards and 2 touchdowns. He also had a kickoff return for a touchdown in this one. Again, Brunswick 0-4 in the conference, 1-6 overall. Shaker Heights, got to give it up to them, 5-2 on the season, 3-1 in the conference. The next game, not so much a game, pitted the Solon Comets against the Strongsville Mustangs, and Solon went on to an easy 30-0 victory over the Mustangs. Solon improves to 6-1 in the conference. They are 4-0. 6-1 overall, 4-0 in the conference. Strongsville drops to 1-6 and 0-4. Let's just take this for a minute real quick. For the longest time in this area, we've been involved with the Brunswick football program for a long time. Strongsville's big rival. Those two were always really cream of the crop football programs towards the top teams. This year, both teams a combined 2-12 overall, 0-8 in the GCC. So some down times for some old powerhouses, that is Strongsville and Brunswick. But in this game, it was pretty much Solon's defense forced 3 first-half turnovers, and that was pretty much all Solon needed. Their first 2 possessions for the Comets led to touchdown receptions for David Marbury and Darrell Sinclair. 2-point conversions on both were good. So to start, Solon's first 2 possessions, 15-0, and that was pretty much all they wrote as the defense once again held Strongsville scoreless in this one as Solon went on to the 30-0 victory. Now in a really good game, Euclid and Elyria. Euclid with the victory, 28-21 over Elyria. Euclid improves to 5-2. 3-1 in the conference. Elyria drops to 3-4. They are 1-3 in the conference. Now, Euclid was up 21-7 until Elyria tied the game with just over 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Then Euclid went ahead, had the go-ahead TD with 25 seconds left. Euclid was led by quarterback Noah Mitchell, who is getting looked at by some top-tier college programs out there.
I believe it.
In this game, 268 yards and 3 touchdown passes. Elyria, they had the running game going. All-state running back Chris Atkinson had 2 touchdowns in this game, but that was not enough as Euclid prevailed late in this game, 28-21 over the Pioneers. Now, Rob had kind of teased this game. This was a very good game. Medina suffers their first loss of the season to the Mentor Cardinals. Mentor with a 35-32 victory over Medina. Mentor improves to 3-4, 2-2 in the conference. Medina drops to 6-1, 3-1 in the conference. Now, Tadas Tatarunas and Manning Trubinsky teamed up with 3:39 left in this game to put the Mentor Cardinals on top. That would eventually win the game for them. Mentor was also led on the ground by Isaiah Gullick. He had 29 carries, 182 yards, and a touchdown. However, an MVP candidate in this one is the guy who caught the game-winning touchdown, and that was Manning Trubisky. He had 14 catches for 171 yards and 3 touchdowns in this game. Now, Medina's stud running back, Jimmy Daw, had 138 yards rushing. He did have 40 receiving yards, and he did add a touchdown. But then again, that was not enough as the Cardinals, with a big, much-needed victory for them, 35-32 over Medina. Now, what the schedule looks like coming up this week. Week number 8, Strongsville will travel to Mentor. Elyria will travel to Solon. Euclid will travel to Brunswick. And my spotlight game is the Shaker Heights Red Raiders traveling to Medina as they battle the Bees. My MVP is the aforementioned Manning Trubisky, 14 catches, 171 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Now, according to Joe Itel, how the playoffs look thus far in Division I, Region 1, how they are seeded. For the GCC, number 5 in Region 1 is Solon. Number 7 is Euclid, so they would be in. Number 9 is Mentor on the outside looking in, and Shaker rounds out at number 11. In Region 2, Medina leads the way in the GCC at number 6. Elyria is in the outside looking in at number 9. And then Brunswick and Strongsville are number 13 and number 15, respectively. So, guys, a surprising performance. Mentor, Medina, we talked about that game. Mentor was up pretty big in this game. Medina came back. Medina did come back, and then Mentor did overtime and take the lead. That was probably the best game in the GCC. A lot of points were riding on that game, too.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. For the stakes at hand, absolutely, probably one of the best game of the week. Notwithstanding the Blue Devil game on Saturday, which was actually was a very competitive.
Yes, it was a very competitive.
Very
game.
competitive. Brunswick's playing for pride at this point, and they showed up and took Shaker to the edge. Unfortunately, just it's a young team still, and closing out games, it's tough. It's tough playing those full 48 minutes, and the Brunswick got about 45 in, and unfortunately couldn't hang on for the last 3. But Mentor and Medina, I mean, the thing with Mentor is they're obviously a very good team. Their losses are to very good schools, and the schools down here, like you said, Josh. The Brunswicks, the Strongsvilles, the Medinas. Right now, we're at an area where we're struggling a little bit, and these the East Side teams, the East Side schools now, the teams that we play all the time now, the Mentors, the Solons, the Euclids. Those are where that's where the talent is, and that's where the that they're the ones that we're chasing now instead of the other way around. And it's just going to take consistent winning from Medina, Brunswick, and Strongsville against those teams to be able to get there. I mean, Shaker Heights is starting to get over the hump a little bit now. By taking they've beaten Solon and Brunswick this year. I'm sorry, Strongsville and Brunswick. Mentor and Euclid, they're taking their turns. Euclid when they first joined the conference, and when we played Euclid a couple times in non-conference, and Brunswick was able to beat them. Now Euclid's got, they got a great head coach with Rotsky, Coach Rotsky there, and the talent's been there as well. So it's just it's tough for the teams now here to compete, and until we get consistent winning, and you just got to get one. Medina almost got that one over Mentor. Once you get one, I think it's gonna beget more victories, not just for Medina, but also for the other teams over the East Side schools.
Well, even if you look at a team like Shaker, who didn't have any conference wins yesterday. All they had to do was get one.
Year, you mean?
Last year, I'm sorry.
I was going to say yesterday. Wow.
Well,
I don't think anyone got a conference win yesterday, Rob.
Yeah. Yes, last year. Thank you for correcting me. And then they come, and already they have 3. They're 3-1, right in the thick of it. That just shows you that, all it takes is one victory to build on something good.
Now, where was Mentor before this week with Joe Itel? Do they gain a lot of points? Obviously, with Medina.
Stand by. I have that note there.
I knew you.
According to last week,
I think the biggest takeaway why Josh looks for that.
I found it.
Oh, okay. We'll go ahead. I was going to give you time.
He's a quick one.
I was going to vamp for a minute, but okay.
No, with that victory over Medina, they did move up 3 spots, according to Joe Itel. They were number 12 last week, moved up to number 9 this week. So
yeah, that's a huge win.
There's still a lot of points out on the board for.
Oh yeah,
well,
for sure.
Actually, now the more I think about it, Mentor's last 3 games against Strongsville, Brunswick. Those we obviously know the story with them, and Leary is 3-4 right now. Leary needs to start picking up some victories, and I don't particularly see that happening this week when they take on Solon. So Mentor's going to need some help from some of these other teams. Your Cleveland, from a Euclid, a St. Ignatius, Cleveland Heights, teams that need to lose to help them get in, because they're not going to get that many second-level points from their next 3 victories or next 3 opponents. I'm sorry.
And I was impressed with Brunswick coming back, because we asked, how would they come back? It's kind of a down season. It's easy to really just call it a year, especially with 3 games left. But they fought. Shaker Heights is having a really good year, and to me, that's. You hate to give moral victories out here, but for Brunswick, that's a pretty big moral victory. I think when you push a team, into overtime, and you come up a little bit short, but Shaker Heights is no slouch, and they're contending in the GCC, and Brunswick almost pulled it off there. Well, so especially with players missing and everything, so that just had other players step up, and they did a nice job.
I think as we look at the upcoming schedule for Medina, it's a tough loss to swallow for sure. A close loss to Mentor like that, because Mentor essentially, by Mentor standards, is having a down year. But you have to turn around. Now you have to go play Shaker Heights, then Euclid, and then you end with Solon.
Ugh.
You got tough. If Medina's got to forget about this and move on, because they could, if they go 0-3 these next 3 games, they're out of the playoffs. They're sitting at 6 right now, according to Joe Itel, and they lose. I would even venture to say if they lose 2 of their next 3, they're looking at the situation where it's the outside looking in. They're scoreboard watching. Medina, as tough of a loss as that is, they're in the driver's seat as far as their playoff destiny is concerned. They take care of business, even if they win their next 2 out of 3, because that's a pretty tough road to hoe. Hopefully they can take care of it, but I just.
And real quick, what Sean is talking about, that's a prime example. We're actually switching from 16 teams playoff format in Region 1 going down to now 8 with Region 1 to Region 2.
Right.
That's going to help a team like Medina if they happen to suffer 1 or 2 losses in the next.
Well, I think it's a double-edged sword for them, because for a while there, if you're sitting, last year, if you're sitting at 6th in the top 16 made it, you would almost have to lose every single game by like 30 points in order not to make the playoffs. Well, now that's not the case. Now you're at 6. You have 2. Your margin for error is a whole lot smaller, and you have to focus your team and say, look, we got to take care of business, because you do not want to be there at week 10 hoping another team loses just so you can get in the next week. You want to be able to say, I'm doing this. We're taking care of our own destiny, and Medina needs to put this loss behind them and move on to a very, very good and talented Shaker Heights team.
Well, we'll see if they do that here coming up in Week 8 when we talk and recap them next week. But nice job, Josh, with the Greater Cleveland Conference That was Week 7. It's our Week 7 recap here on Sports on Tap. We're part of the NEO Sports Insiders Network. It's our Ohio high school football coverage. When we come back, the Southwestern Conference, we get into it. When we come back, we're Sports on Tap.